What's the future of automobiles? Is it hybrid? Is it electric, or is it hydrogen? Well, we're going to try to answer that question by doing what, Tommy?
We are taking the brand new Hyundai Nexo, the Tesla Model Y, and a more traditional gasoline hybrid vehicle, the Hyundai Sonata Hybrid, up the Loveland Trials.
Which is the world's toughest electric car test, because all three of these vehicles are electric in one way or the other, aren't they, Tommy?
Yep, they're all electrified at least, and this video is going to be a really fun one you're not going to want to miss. That's coming up right now.
Hey Tommy, it's like Christmas and summer. We just got our Bespoke Post box of goodies.
That's right, and Bespoke Post is a really cool subscription service that introduces you to new hobbies and new items on a monthly basis. So it could be a better way to shave, or perhaps a really cool camping knife. There's a lot of cool potential goodies that'll come in these Bespoke Post boxes. So let's see what we got today. With each one of your boxes, they cost $45, but they have a retail value of $70.
All right, let's check out this multi-tool, Tommy, because I love multi-tools. Check it out, 18 tools in one.
New Bespoke Post boxes are coming out each and every month, and you can choose a box that suits your specific theme or hobby that you have in mind, or you can skip that month altogether if there's not something that interests you.
Yeah, this is a really nice towel, Tommy. And guys, just click on the link below and use the code TFL20 to get a 20% discount on your first box. But let's have Tommy introduce today's contestants before we head up the mountain.
The Tesla Model Y is what is called a BEV, a BEV, or battery electric vehicle. Basically, there's a massive high voltage battery that lives underneath the car, and you charge that battery up via a connector that plugs into the back. It works just like a traditional RC car would. You just charge it up and off you go down the road. The Hyundai Nexo is what is called an FCEV, or fuel cell electric vehicle, and this one is a little bit weirder. First of all, there's no port to plug in electricity. Instead, there's a port here where hydrogen, compressed hydrogen, is shoved into 3 high-pressure hydrogen tanks. This is one of 3 tanks in the vehicle, and these tanks hold about 6.3 kilograms of hydrogen at about 10,000 psi. That hydrogen is then sent through a fuel cell at the front of the vehicle, which combines hydrogen and oxygen to create water, but also electricity, and that electricity powers the front wheels. This whole unit is a 196-pound magic box for most people, including myself, but basically, hydrogen enters one end, air, the stuff we breathe, enters another end. The oxygen in the air is combined with the hydrogen to make water and electricity, which then can be used to power all sorts of things, like a light bulb or a toaster, or could propel me up a mountain at 70 miles an hour using an electric motor. Now, interestingly enough, to make the fuel cell stack work, you need a lot of platinum. In this case, 56 grams of platinum. So that's the fuel cell part of FCEV, but what about the EV? Well, this car also has a small high voltage battery just to fill in the gaps where the hydrogen fuel cell is ramping up or ramping down. Underneath the hood of the Sonata Hybrid, you'll find a couple of different technologies, starting with a traditional 4-cylinder gasoline engine, which develops about 150 horsepower by itself. And then there's a couple of electric motors, one small one and one big one, which develop 50 additional horsepower for a combined system output of 192 horsepower. Now, of course, this is a traditional hybrid, so you drive it like a normal car. You fill it up with gas, and then the computer, the brain of the car, is in charge of charging up the battery and keeping the systems operational, so it alternates between gas and electricity all automatically. One really cool piece of technology on the roof of the Sonata Hybrid are these solar panels, and this is pretty wild, futuristic stuff. You're probably wondering, can I drive the car on solar panels alone? No, you can't, because they don't produce all that much power. Hyundai says they can generate up to 2 miles of additional electric driving every day, up to 700 miles of EV driving every year. The big benefit of these panels is they can charge both the 12-volt standard battery and the big high-voltage battery. So, if you park at the airport for a couple of weeks, you don't have to worry about your battery draining. These will keep it nice and topped up. even if it means that you're not going to be driving down the road consistently on solar power alone.
We call the Loveland Trials the world's toughest electric car test because we drive straight up a mountain from here in Boulder to the top of Loveland Pass and back down. What that gives you at the end is a number. How much do we pay to fill up all these cars? With the Sonata, we have a number, but it's going to be a lot more difficult with the Nexo, and that's because there's only one hydrogen station in all of Colorado, and that's at the National Renewable Energy Lab, and they won't let us use it because of COVID. All three of these cars use electricity in one way or the other, but the biggest mechanical difference between them is, of course, that the Tesla is all-wheel drive, which here in Colorado is a good thing. There's also a huge difference in how long it takes to actually fill up or recharge the vehicles. Yes, Tommy?
Yes, we'll talk about this on the road. I want to get up the mountain. Let's go.
All right, which one do you want to drive? Which one?
The Nexo. It's crazy cool.
Hell yeah, I'll take the Tesla. Let's go.
On the open road, the Nexo drives a lot like a traditional electric vehicle, because in a lot of ways it is very similar to a traditional electric vehicle. What propels you down the road is an electric motor, just like that Model Y. However, what supplies electricity to that motor is entirely different, because that Model Y has a very large battery pack. This Nexo is a very small battery pack, just 1.65 kilowatt hours. It's a similar pack to what you'd find in like a traditional gas-electric hybrid. The total system output is 135 kilowatts, and 95 kilowatts of that comes from the hydrogen fuel cell. The other 40 kilowatts or so comes from that high voltage battery. 181 horsepower and almost 300 pound-feet of torque. Now, electric cars are known for their instant acceleration. The second you hit the throttle, off you go into the horizon. Well, hydrogen fuel cells, they don't work like that, because when you hit the throttle on a hydrogen-powered vehicle, air has to rush across the fuel cell first before it makes enough power to accelerate you down the road. And actually there's a compressor that kicks on, and you can hear it, that starts rushing air into the system. However, if we didn't have that large high voltage pack, the acceleration of this fuel cell vehicle would feel a lot like a 1980s turbo.
I'm starting out with 271 miles of range. This vehicle will go up to 280 because it's performance. It's a little bit less than the regular Model Y, and we topped it off all the way at the house last night. So the question is, how much range will I have left after I go up the mountain and back down the mountain? So figure 271 minus 150, that would be, I'm really bad at math, 71 miles of range left. This is the performance Model Y with, this is mind-blowing, 21-inch wheels, like that. I feel like I'm in a Porsche. And they're also offset so that the front are a little bit narrower than the back, which is grand until you have to replace tires. The other thing that makes this Model Y unique, of course, is that it's got bigger brakes, it's got a little bit lowered suspension, and it's got a spoiler on the back, so you know it's serious. It's not an economy car, it's a performance car.
Let's talk about some of the advantages of a hydrogen vehicle. And one of the big advantages is there's not that much of a learning curve if you've been driving gasoline vehicles for your whole life. So there's nothing to plug in, there's nothing to charge up. You go to a hydrogen station, you use your credit card to pay ahead of time, then you plug in a nozzle to the vehicle, and 5 minutes later you're full of hydrogen, and down the road you go with 354 miles of EPA rated range. And then when you run low, you do the same thing. And the other benefit of hydrogen is, unlike a full electric vehicle that loses a lot of range in the wintertime, hydrogen-powered vehicles do much better with their cold weather efficiency. Now, there are a number of disadvantages to hydrogen as well. First of all, if it gets too cold, the hydrogen car won't start below negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit. The biggest issue of all is, of course, the lack of infrastructure. In 2020, there's currently only about 40 hydrogen stations nationwide. The vast majority of those are in California. Well, pretty much all of them are in California, which means that if you live in Colorado, you're a little stuck. you're really stuck. There's not a whole lot you can do to refill your car except trailer it to California and then bring it on back. And that's exactly what Hyundai had to do to bring us this car. So a big thank you to the team out there for allowing us to review this vehicle. But once we run out of hydrogen, we're pretty much done for the day.
So we've got three different kinds of cars that I think are all excellent in their own way, and they represent three different kinds of buyers. Let me explain what I mean. So let's start with the hybrid, right? That's kind of the continuation, in my mind, of the traditional internal combustion engine taken to one of its most efficient results. When I was a kid, getting 30 mpg was astounding, and yet Sonata Hybrid gets 50 mpg. And you don't have to change your lifestyle around, you don't have to change anything you're doing. All you do is fill it up at the gas station and go 500 miles on a tank full instead of 300 miles on a tank full, and you're done. Now, this car is kind of like Apple was when I was growing up, right? It's the disruptor. It's the car, and it's the brand that's saying and making everything else look old, right? Tesla says, we're going to change the way you buy the car, we're going to change the way you power the car, we're going to change the way you update the car, we're going to change the way the car accelerates because instant torque. I like that. And I got to be honest, I think that oil is a really valuable resource, and in fact it's so valuable that it's too precious to burn. So I love the fact that in its ultimate incarnation, an electric car can be completely carbon neutral. The Nexo has that same ability, but it kind of appeals to kind of my left brain, geeky, I'm the only one in the world driving a hydrogen car. And while it does emit, as I'm watching from behind, a lot of water coming out the back of it, it is just water. You're taking the most abundant element in the world and you're either combining it or splitting it, right? I mean, you're taking H2O and splitting off the oxygen element, or you're adding it to create H2O. And as a geek and as somebody who loves science, I find that extremely fascinating, and I find that like the ultimate science experiment that is now in the form of a car. Once again, is it carbon neutral? Well, it depends where you get your hydrogen. Are you getting it because you're splitting it off from natural gas, or are you creating it using hydroelectric energy, or are you creating it using coal? These are all questions that you guys can tackle in the comments below. Hey Tommy, a lot of water just flew out of your car?
Yes, clean, refreshing, nutritious, good for the planet water.
Did you dump that, or did the car do it on its own?
No, the car did that all on its own.
Yeah, it was really cool. I saw all this water come flying out of your car, and I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. I gotta tell you, it feels, going up the mountain, to me at least, from behind the Performance, a little pokey.
Yeah, it feels pretty standard, actually. I mean, once you get over the fact that you're running on the most abundant element in the known universe, it feels like a normal crossover. It doesn't feel all that weird.
This Tesla and that Nexo cost about the same, right? This one was $64,000. How much can you buy a Nexo for?
Well, this is the top of the line limited, so this comes in at $62,000 and some change. $62,185 to be exact.
Yeah, and of course most people lease them because Hyundai will give you a credit card with about $15,000 worth of fuel, right?
Yes, you are correct. So you can lease them for about $399 a month is what the current offer is, I believe. And then you get a huge incentive to buy the vehicle because it is such a huge credit toward hydrogen. Now I will say, Dad, that the car is extremely smooth. It's very quiet, of course, but it's not very quick.
Yeah, well, this Tesla Model Y is all that plus very quick.
Yeah, but it can take up to several hours to charge that up depending on the infrastructure you're using, whereas it will take 4, maybe 5 minutes at the most to fill up the Nexo.
Yeah, but it happens when I'm sleeping, so I don't really care.
Yeah, I can't argue with that one right there. That's a great point, Dad.
So the question I have, Tommy, is how like internal combustion engines become less efficient the higher up we go. You think the same thing's happening with the Nexo because it's using oxygen?
I'm curious, because the fuel cell relies on oxygen, is that also making less electricity because it just can't breathe as well?
You know, it's hard to believe that this brand new hybrid is kind of the most mundane of the technologies we're going to be talking about in this video. I mean, when you think about it, it is pretty cool. You've got a gasoline-powered engine paired with the battery to provide the best and most fuel-efficient driving experience you can get, and yet, compared to a hydrogen car or an all-electric car, it seems kind of, well, mundane. But there are some cool things, like check this out. In the old days, we would have called these vortex generators. Same thing over here. I suspect what those are aerodynamic aids, so if you're probably on the Autobahn doing 100 miles an hour, then you're probably doing some fuel economy savings, but driving it around town, I think these are probably more for show than for go.
Now in this Sonata, I've got it in eco mode. I've got air conditioning on at 69 degrees, and we're going to try to keep that consistent across all the vehicles. And we're going to drive it like you do every day, so we're not hypermiling, we're just going to drive it like a car. And I think that's probably where the Sonata shines the best, because you don't have to change any kind of habits or any kind of procedures when you buy a traditional hybrid electric vehicle.
Yeah, you go to the gas station, fill it up.
Yeah, you still fill it up with gasoline.
Everything in this car that I look at, everything I touch, feels premium and expensive. It's quiet. It's everything I would want a sedan to be, including fuel efficient.
This particular Sonata is rated at 47 combined, there's no sticker, 51 highway.
Yep.
However, if you get the base trim, the blue model, you can expect up to 54 mpg highway according to Hyundai.
How big's the battery in here?
It's small, it's 1.62 kilowatt hours. To put that in perspective, the Tesla has 100 kilowatt hours. So it's fairly small.
So like 2% of the Tesla.
Exactly, yep. But it's enough for what you need to do in this vehicle. And unlike a lot of the old hybrids, you can drive at speed on electric power only.
All right, Tommy, we're about to head up on I-70 and up the big mountain. What's your vehicle showing? What's our vehicle showing now in terms of fuel economy?
Yeah, we're averaging 40.9 miles per gallon.
That's good.
That's been mixed city and highway, mostly uphill. A little bit of gas just to get up to speed. And that's one of the cool things about the Sonata Hybrid is...
Listen, do it again. Listen, guys. You hear that? That is the sound of a transmission shifting.
Yep, so this is a traditional 6-speed automatic transmission. It's got the solid feeling of a torque converter automatic transmission. Yeah, it's really great when you're climbing up steep hills.
What would you say the steering and brakes are like on the highway?
They're great. Yeah. I really am impressed with the steering on this Sonata.
Yeah.
On so many hybrids, they're way over boosted and just are completely dead. They've done a great job of bringing in a little bit of sportiness into the steering rack in this vehicle. And when you steer in, it's got a great response, a little bit of feeling, and it's so much better than so much of its competition.
You know, Tommy, hybrids have been around a long time now, right?
Yeah, over 20 years.
Yeah, so they've become kind of commonplace. And it's hard to kind of teach a old dog a new trick. I mean, you expect them to be fuel efficient, you expect them to be kind of seamless. And the new trick in this car, I think, is the fact that it's got the solar roof, which I'm watching, and it's actually feeding power to the battery.
Right.
I gotta say, you know, I've seen that only 2 other times before. The Leaf had it, or has it.
For the 12-volt battery.
Only for the 12-volt.
Yeah.
And then the Fisker did it as well. The problem always with these roof-mounted solar panels is they're just not powerful enough to do anything beyond, you know, like cool the interior of the car. So it's cool that this one is actually charging up the battery. It
is a really cool piece of technology. I prefer this to like a panoramic sunroof. Yeah. I'd much rather have this piece of technology.
Yeah.
But in terms of the actual impact over the life of the vehicle, yeah, sure, you can probably get a couple thousand miles of full EV range, you know, but on a daily basis, you're not going to see all that much. And you can see we just went into a clouded area, and the little solar roof icon has dipped down from 100% to 33% efficiency.
So there's a cloud, and now you can see it's giving you less power as opposed to more power. We're just waiting for the cloud to go away so you can See the power. The other thing that you can tell is there's no numbers associated with this, right? Show them the only number. Go to that screen.
Well, you can see actually the lifetime efficiency or the lifetime cumulative power generation of the roof. So this car has almost 700 miles on it, and it's generated just 3.6 kilowatt hours.
And see, here we go. We're going to go into the sun, and here's a big party trick. As we hit the sun, the roof should start. There it goes. Look at that. All right, well, we've had a little bit of a traffic issue, accident, and our usual Loveland Trials is going to be more of a stop and go affair, but that's okay. It gives me the opportunity to test out autopilot. I've got my maximum speed set to 65 miles an hour, which is a max speed here on I-70. I am now doing 4 miles an hour, and I will see if this car will steer and drive without me touching the brake or the steering wheel. Wow, the car came to a complete stop, and when Tommy speeds up, the car speeds up. Autopilot engaged. Right there is the speed at which it's set to. Right there is the speed limit, and right there is the state of my battery. Of course, there are all the cars around me, and I love the fact that Tesla actually knows that I'm in a Model Y that's red. How cool is that? Now, I've got 250 miles of range left, and when I started this video I said I should have 71. I did really badly at math in high school, as you can tell. The right answer is, of course, I should have 121 at the end of this test. Yeah, that's why I'm a journalist and not a mathematician.
I have my hands at the ready, but I haven't touched the steering wheel to intervene once. I haven't touched the brake or the accelerator once. This is the most pleasant I've ever felt in traffic. This is just awesome. I can't believe how great this is. Other cars have this feature, of course, too, but we don't get a lot of stop and go traffic here in Colorado, so I don't get to play with it that much, and this is such a game changer. We are now on the twisty canyon road leading to the top of Loveland Pass, and we should talk about how this car drives because it is very unusual. This car is super soft. I'm talking like 15, 20-year-old Lexus soft, maybe even old Buick levels of soft. It just floats.
The other cool thing, of course, about electric cars is that they're not whatsoever affected by altitude. If you go up here in, let's say, a 1980s Honda Civic, then you will definitely feel the difference in terms of power and in terms of how quickly your car accelerates. The other thing I've really been curious about is just, that is cool, but how does the car actually handle when going around a turn? We know Teslas are fast in a straight line, and we've had this car exactly one day, so here is really my first serious turn. I'm sticking close to Tommy in the Nexo, and let's see what this, oh, he's slowing down. Let's see what this thing does going around a curve. Yeah, it feels pretty good actually. Tommy's certainly hauling up the mountain as well, but yeah, it feels planted. I think Tesla has come a long way in their suspension tuning.
It just doesn't inspire a lot of confidence with taking these corners at a lot of speed. However, I really don't care because when you're using this car on the highway, on your normal commute, it really has an ideal ride for that. It's just really soft and luxurious.
Every time he takes a turn, water just comes streaming out of the back of the Nexo. All that hydrogen mixing with oxygen being converted back into H2O. Let's see if you can see more.
Well, we made it to over 12,000 feet above sea level. Well, okay, 11,990. And now we're going to turn right back around and see what the car does on the way down the mountain.
Yeah, so one of the things that is a negative for a hybrid, though, is you're still getting most of your power from the internal combustion engine.
Yeah.
Which means that up here, you're losing, 30% of your horsepower.
Well, yeah, but you do have a nice chunky motor generator to give you a boost.
But you are using...
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's quite 30. I think that's bold.
Well, 3% per 1,000 feet of elevation.
But that's a standard gas engine.
Yeah, we're at 12,000, so 3 times 12 is 36.
I'm not going with that. I'm going with like 20%.
All right, well, you were driving. Does it feel 20% slower?
Yeah, but not 30.
All right.
No way 30, but 20.
All right, well, let's see how much this thing will regen when we head on back down the mountain.
So we've driven about 7 miles downhill, and take a look at this. Our high voltage battery is already completely charged up. So it didn't take long to fill up that 1.5 kilowatt hours with electricity, and now, unfortunately, all of that regen ability is not going to be helping us all that much from here on out. I think one of the cool things about modern day electrified vehicles is their emphasis on driver assistance and safety, and of course the Sonata Hybrid has the full suite of safety functions, and we're going to see how its driver assistance functions work. So I'm going to go into cruise here, come down here to the speed limit, and then we're going to go ahead and set it. There we go. Set right at the speed limit. So now we are using the adaptive cruise control function of the vehicle, but I also have this little steering wheel icon here on the steering wheel, and when I push that I have the turn assist function, and let's see how well it will guide me down the highway. So I'm going to take my hands off the steering wheel.
No, don't do it! Oh, I'm just kidding.
Gee whiz, Dad, it's frightening the heck out of me. And now I'm going to let the vehicle navigate the lane. Of course, I am alert and ready to take over at any time. Doing a pretty good job actually so far, keeping me right in the center. Look at this, when I make a right turn.
Yeah. Oh, that's badass, dude.
Isn't that cool? The gauge.
A Honda does that. How about if you make a left turn? Oh,
yeah.
Look at that. You get the left turn over there.
Honda doesn't do that, so that's a nice piece of tech.
All right, so we're back in Boulder at the gas station, and as usual, we're going to do our 2-click method. So we're going to first put the gas in the car, then we're going to wait 30 seconds, click it again. We do the same thing when we filled it up. All right, it's completely full, and we use look at that, $7.77, $7.77, and 2.727, Tommy.
So 148 miles divided by 2.72, 54. Yeah, 54 mpg is a really good result.
So we had regular roads, we had highway, we had stop and go. What's the Nexo like to drive?
It's really nice. It's super smooth.
Yep.
Not super quick, but it is just so floaty. It's like driving an armchair, which I like. And it made it to 12,000 feet above sea level without any difficulties, warning lights, nothing like that.
I gotta tell you, the craziest thing of all is watching water pour out the back of that thing when you go around a turn. It actually pours out so fast I have to sometimes use my wipers.
That's crazy. That's really nuts. I wish it would like pour into a water bottle inside that I could like sip out of. That'd be cool.
Yeah, why don't you guys do that? Add some minerals to it, and make it not so distilled, and have it like in a little bottle so you can actually see what's happening. That chemical reaction has got to be the coolest thing in the automotive world.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's turn around, head back down. The car says we have 234 miles of range left. We started with about 326, so let's see what happens when we turn right back down the mountain.
Yeah. I'll see how much I have back. I started with I think 272, and I forget how much I have now, but it's like 140-ish.
Okay.
I should be fine.
You should be fine.
Tommy, all hazardous chemicals and explosives have to come over Loveland Pass when you're in a semi-truck, right?
Yeah.
Can you even drive that through the Eisenhower Tunnel?
Yeah, some of this is a big issue with developing hydrogen across the East Coast. A lot of vehicles, a lot of counties and states won't let you drive hydrogen vehicles through like tunnels and bridges because of the perception that they're highly unsafe, but the new ones are super safe.
Yeah. I don't know. Let us know in the comments below if you know.
I can promise you, I think I'm driving the only hydrogen-powered vehicle on top of Loveland Pass. I didn't see any others. And as we start making our way down the mountain, interestingly enough, I have 3 levels of regen like you'd expect to find on a full electric vehicle, and that's pretty cool. And the reason I have 3 levels of regen is, of course, because of that battery pack. Just like a traditional electric or a hybrid, as I go down the hill, it's going to put power back into the battery. and slow me down a little bit. Now let me go to my energy flow meter. This is pretty cool. This is a meter that shows me when I'm putting power back into the battery, when I'm using hydrogen to propel the vehicle, and then when I'm using a combination of hydrogen and electricity to propel the vehicle. And what I find is that as you drive along normally, the vehicle typically uses only the fuel cell to propel you down the road unless you're really getting on the throttle. But it is able to use both the battery and the fuel cell like we talked about at the beginning.
According to Tesla, and this is probably one of the things that Tesla does the best, and that is when you input your destination, because so many people in Teslas have driven this route before and shared that information with Tesla, it really knows exactly how much power you should have left when you get back to your destination. And according to my chart here, it says that I'm starting with 53% of the battery, and when we get back to our offices, I'm going to have 50% of the battery. So yeah, less than 3% usage of the battery because of this car's pretty stellar ability to regen.
Why do you keep hitting your brakes so hard?
I'm not hitting my brakes so hard. That's the regen. Every time I let off the accelerator, that's what happens. Isn't that crazy?
So I'm almost down the mountain road portion of Loveland Pass, and you can see the battery is now completely full. Pretty much completely full, you can see by those bars, and the car is not regenning all that much anymore, even on level 3, the highest level of regen. So I am having to actuate the disc brakes more than I'd like. I do wish this battery was a little bit bigger than 1.56 kilowatt hours, but that's what we've got.
So Tommy's filled up his battery. Mine has a ways to go. That's the difference between having a little teeny tiny battery and a big old massive battery. You know what they say, the bigger the battery, the longer the range. That's absolutely true. Tommy, you know what this is?
What?
An empty glass. I'm gonna try drinking the water out of the Nexo, but first, let's talk numbers.
Yeah, let's talk numbers. Now, the hybrid did over 50 mpg on our Loveland Trials loop. The Nexo did really well. According to the computer, we did 68 mpge, just a little bit under, and over 148 miles. We actually used less than 148 miles of range, and the Tesla, according to the government, will do 121 mpge, and get this, over the 148 mile trip, it used exactly 148 miles of range, so it just rocked it.
According to the car. You know, I think all three of these cars are just mind-blowingly cool. You've got, you know, the incredible extension of the internal combustion engine with the hybrid powertrain. You've got what is essentially a really cool science experiment that you can drive. And you've got an electric car that does 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds, which is mind-blowing. So fill it up for me.
So there is a little exhaust port on the Nexo, and water comes out the exhaust, of course, but my dad is insistent on trying to drink it. There's an H2O out button I can push to manually purge the system of water. So let's see how much comes out when I push that button. You're not really supposed to drink this. It's hyper distilled, and it's also not like all that cleanly because stuff could have gotten in there.
It's warm.
Yeah, it is warm.
You know, when I said a science experiment, I meant that in a very complimentary sort of way. I didn't mean it was half-baked. I meant it was...
Well, this is a science experiment. Try it.
Yeah, this is a science experiment. Doesn't taste like anything. Want to try it?
Yeah. Oh. It tastes kind of metallic-y. It's got no minerals in it.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, guys. We've got a really interesting experiment with really good results. I would buy any one of these three cars and be very happy with it.
Yeah, I think they are all brilliant. I just wish there were more than 40 stations we could top this up at, because we got half a tank And after that, we're gonna be a little stuck.
I wish there was just one here in Colorado we could top off at. And Hyundai, what you should do is you should like route that into the cabin into like a water bottle.
They have to flavor it or something, and it's warm. It's like,
I don't know, add some kind of like lemonade
murky.
mix to it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, thanks for watching. Remember, check out tflcar.com for more news, views, and real world reviews. And see you guys next time. Why don't we water some grass with it?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, all right, here, I'll get it. You don't want to water it?
I want to see if Alex wants to try it.
You want to try it, Alex?
I'll try some.
All right, even the videographer will try some. Here you go, dude. See what you think.
Yeah, weird. Weird.
It's weird. It's a little metallic-y. All right, ciao. There you go, Mr. Flower. Enjoy.